Hey, Robin.
Good evening.
How you doing?
How are you?
Good, good. Oh, it's a good sign that my internet is working properly right from the start. Congratulations, NBN.
They did. They set out to do one thing and they did it right for a change.
Yeah, let's not get into that.
I work for an IT company, and someone happened to see me during a call this week doing a speed test on my line because I was having a bit of issues. So I ran. It's a website some of you may know. It's called speedtest.net. And it was one of my colleagues, and he looked at me. He looked at the figures, and he said, "Is that what you're getting, Rob?" You know, because I think I was getting like 18 megs down, which is horrific. And he was like, "Man, I'm getting like 200 and something."
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
Where's he
he's in the
based?
middle of Brisbane, obviously.
Right.
Brisbane, in the city. But still, the fact that I'm 20 minutes out of the city in a first world country, and in South Africa, we get better speeds than we get here. Just my little
There
my
you
little
go.
piece.
I think I've said it before, but I remember I was in Malawi in 2010, and they had, like, you want to get online? Scratch card for satellite internet.
Oh, nice.
Wow,
2010,
that's an experience.
Malawi. I spent 4 months offline last year waiting for NBN.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's. Well, you boys don't drink while you're recording, but let's raise a glass to the demise of the Liberal government.
Oh,
Happy
yeah.
days.
Nice one.
Yeah, I wondered if we were going to get into this this topic.
Best to get it over and done with at the start.
Yeah, no, I think it was a pretty good result, and it's, I don't know about your guys' circles in, well, obviously not so much you, Joey, but Bryan, I don't know about your circles, but it seemed like that's what everyone was talking about, and everyone was so pumped about the result.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
It feels that way. It just, I don't know. It feels like we're a grown-up country again.
It's going to be interesting to see where we are in a couple of terms from now.
Oh yeah.
You know, will that teal and green support continue on? So, Joey, I don't know if you've watched the news or
I
know
hear
what's
you've
going
got a
on.
new guy in charge. Yep.
We do. I'd threatened
But I
to
think-
Lanny that we were moving to New Zealand if fuckwit go back in again.
Yes.
But yeah, I think the Greens getting so many votes is what's really exciting.
Yep.
Righto.
Fun times.
So how are you going, Joey?
Good. Good evening, gents. Been busy.
Busy.
It's I have been somewhat double booked this week through no fault of my own necessarily, perhaps just being too nice, but ended up having to kind of get 5 jobs sorted this week. So it's just
Jesus.
finishing off 2 from last week, and then getting 3 jobs. Well, 2 jobs knocked out and 1 other job started, so it's 5 jobs total for the week to be kind of in different stages. So just flat out doing what I can.
And the shop, how's that looking?
Man, talk about ups and downs.
It sounds like there's no space for that.
So on the good news is that we're getting our concrete poured tomorrow morning. So I'm going to have a slab by the time this podcast is aired, which is nice. The bad news is there's an extra massive delay on getting the actual parts, the steel frame and everything. So that it's gone from 60 days to about 150 days.
Oh God.
Wow.
So we're now in I won't have the shed until the end of September.
But this is an Australian company or a New Zealand company?
It's a New Zealand company, but they use an Australian engineered product.
Right.
And from what I gather, I haven't done all of my homework here, but from what I gather, quite a lot of the shed warehousing, well, yes, I'll call them shed companies, are using the same Australian product because they're a massive company, and they obviously have a pretty good kind of factory. From what I hear, though, during COVID, a whole bunch of guys were laid off, and then now can't get the guys back, and they've got orders coming out the yin yang, and they can't, and then there's shortages of steel, so we're just being pushed back, and then of course you've got to put it on a boat, and you've got to wait for a boat to actually get from Aussie over to here. And we have contemplated whether or not we should go down the road of cancelling contracts and looking for someone who's got steel in the country to do what we need to do. But yeah, at this stage, it's, we've got too much invested already in this one kind of company. You can't get all your money back if you cancel these sorts of contracts. And by the time we actually deal with a new company, we're going to end up waiting possibly longer. So at this stage, we're just waiting. It's a pain in the butt. The worst thing is that we have had to extend our lease on the old workshop, and there's no budget for that, so we don't even know how that's happening yet. So, but
start doing 5 jobs at once.
Start doing 5 jobs a week. That's how we're getting through it at this stage.
So with this shed, just remind me, this is a kit shed, right? So it's not, you haven't designed it, it's totally off their plan, their spec.
Well, it's custom. So it's a kit. I can buy it as a kit set, in that they make all the parts and it gets delivered to my site. And then there's another fee for them to erect it, which I chose because I've never worked with steel in that capacity, and just get some guys that are going to put it up in 2 weeks. So it's fine with me. But everything is engineered to suit the spans I've asked for, to suit the size of the workshop that we can fit on our property, and also to take the weight of the solar panels. On the roof, they actually had to beef up some of the girders in the middle of the roof, or one side of the roof, to take the extra weight of the solar panels, which I didn't actually think would be a problem, but it turns out they had to beef up steel. So so it's not a kit set as in go buy one off the shelf, but kind of pre-made, pre-cut maybe.
I'm just thinking from a logistics and what do you call it, supply chain perspective. With something like a kit, I would imagine you would have less deviations from the plan, or do you think that even those sorts of kits where I say I want an S1 please, and then they send you whatever an S1 is, would those be getting affected in the same way, do you think?
From what I hear, my brother is working in the steel industry in Brisbane, and he said it's pretty much the same there, like to a certain degree. The steel supply is just not there, and they're constantly having delays with what they can and can't get out the door because they can't get stuff in the door. So and it seems to be it seems that the steel is there, but there's no labor. Does that sound about right? It's like there's a lot of people being laid off.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, it seems like a bunch of factories have just been slowed right down, and it's just the knock-on effects just massively compounding.
Yeah. I've actually been looking at regional property outside of Melbourne and checking out the shed situation and how much it costs to build a shed here. You scared the crap out of me when you were talking about 50. How much? What did the cost in your slab go up by? 50 grand or something?
About that. It was not quite that much, but by the time we had to pay for everything we had to pay for, we had to find that much money to pay for the slab. The problem with, I don't think you'll find that in
no, not so much
Australia, because your ground can't be as crap as ours, and it can't be as determined by one earthquake every 1,000 years. So,
not quite shaky. But then we have the other problems with. So anyway, here's my Shop Stool exclusive. We're expecting baby number 2, so
woohoo.
We're probably going to be
nice.
We're probably going to be looking at maybe getting out of the city. Maybe.
Big house. Yep.
Oh, awesome.
I kind of hinted to Robin that Tassie was possibly an option, but my wife isn't very good in cold weather, so. And she'd always thought Queensland was the way to go, and now they've had like 100 days of rain in the last 100 days. Just will not stop raining up there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you need to go north into the cyclone territory. Bizarre,
Yeah, exactly.
because you don't get any rain up there.
it's absolutely insane. And yeah, big shout out to all the guys that are still kind of mopping up from the last floods. I don't know if you know Mast Furniture. They're based in Queensland or northern New South Wales. Their entire workshop was under like 5 feet of water. Big CNC machines, probably a couple of $100,000 worth of machines, I reckon, all gone.
Wow.
I reckon more than half the makers I know up there had severe damage to their workshops. So so that's sort of scared us off Queensland a little bit and has us looking a little bit closer to home. So regional Victoria and seeing what options are out there. But it would be lovely not to have to deal with a landlord and be a tenant.
Yes.
Although, having said that, you've been posting a lot of stuff on Instagram this week, Bryan, about the amazing
I know.
sunsets and weather, and it's going to be hard to beat that view, because as much as city living has its cons, I'd imagine that commute must be pretty special.
It's good, yeah. It's definitely made a difference cycling it rather than driving it. So like during COVID, and then after I had my knee reconstruction, I was obviously driving and couldn't motivate myself to get on a bike, and then I got an e-bike, like a pedal assist e-bike, and now I just avoid the van, maybe get the van, bring it into work once a week, do all my deliveries, all my rubbish runs. And yeah, it's been really good. And the weather here has just been, I mean, it's all going to come to an abrupt halt and start pissing with rain and be absolutely freezing soon. But we had 23 degrees today.
Wow.
It's just unheard of.
Do you have to drive far? I'm just wondering from a point of view of, I assume petrol prices are ridiculous over there as well.
They're pretty bad. They're not quite Kiwi
helping?
levels of stupid.
Right.
But I'm about a 15-minute drive and about 15 to 20 minute cycle. So yeah, it saves a little bit, but it's kind of
not crazy. Yeah.
It's nice.
I'm doing crazy
nice.
at the moment. having to drive to the old workshop for my new place. I'm spending probably $150 a week.
Oof.
That's just me. And then if I've got to do a supply run into the city properly, then there's another tank. It's just crazy.
Just in case we have any American listeners there, can you tell them how much a litre of petrol costs in New Zealand?
Petrol currently is like $3.15.
Wow.
Something outrageous like that. There was some subsidies, and some places are promising lower gas here and there, but you could want to spend between $2.90 and $3 something.
Because here in Australia, we jumped, but then it came back down. Right?
Yeah, I think
$2
the
now?
government stuck in a subsidy there
Yeah,
to bring it down and try to control it for the next 6 months.
Yeah, they've just extended it. If it wasn't for the subsidy, it would probably be more like $3.50
Whoa!
at the moment, because it just jumped again last week.
And I read something just today, not to get further into politics again, but there's a lot of talk about what's going on with these prices. It's not everyone suffering. There are companies like Shell are breaking records at the moment, so there's a lot of market manipulation going on as part of this. It's not just the war in Ukraine, we can't get fuel. So
Do you not feel that that's the same with every multinational in every field at the minute?
Yeah.
Some of them are going to do better than ever out of this, just because increased demand, and then you've got a shortage of supply.
Well, we could change it and change tact a little bit and talk about the same subject, but something that we actually know about, like plywood. If you think about plywood being a similar commodities, the way I take it, like birch ply, it's going to dry up pretty soon.
Yeah.
But there are still here at least relatively good stocks, probably for 3, 4, 5 months maybe, depending on. And what's interesting is since COVID started the price going up for plywood, but somebody out there who knows about economics could maybe tell me how this works. But if you've already landed a product and you've got 20 container loads of plywood. How do you then justify putting the price up for that 20 container loads when it's the next 20 container loads that is actually more expensive?
Isn't that just because of all of your running costs around it?
Possibly,
are
but
going up as well?
The price of birch ply here is now $300 a sheet.
Yeah.
I mean, it was $165 pre-COVID.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw like that little ply parasite side table that I
wanted to talk about it.
I think that's the last one I'm going to make.
Yeah.
I mean, I might end up doing some in hoop pine plywood or something, or poplar, but it's just a piece that I've always liked making out of birch. I like the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
I like that there's no voids in it.
Yep.
And it just doesn't stack up anymore. I think that piece has a certain cap to its value. Like, I don't think edge laminated plywood, you know, if you try and get into a super high end market, it doesn't compete with solid timber, so it has a cap. And once the material has reached a certain level and it's now getting up to like 25% of the cost of the piece with a huge amount of labor involved, it just hits a point where it's just not viable anymore.
Yeah. It's
Joey, when you say it's going to dry up, what do you mean?
Well, birch comes from Russia.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or Lithuania or Latvia, but it's processed in Russia, so.
I have heard conflicting things. I know it's primarily grown in Russia. From what I understand, a lot of the mills are in, is it Sweden or Switzerland? I think some of the processing is done in Europe, but again, they can't even get the logs. So if that is the case, there's still going to be a dry up. But I imagine Russia itself is producing it. I know China produces their own, but again, they can't get the logs. Or China might be able to get logs, but then it becomes a personal moral question as if you want to buy it, but that's a different story. So I think I've had still a relatively steady inquiries for birch ply, and when I start telling people, I preface my emails now with, FYI, it now costs $300 a sheet. Do you want me to even bother drawing this up? Knowing that you might need 10 sheets, is that an option?
It's become this, it's going to become this pristine, the most luxurious version of hardwood is plywood. You're going to walk in and just see a plywood strip on your wall, and that's you've insured that for some ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
It's funny because the first one of those side tables I ever made, I'm sure I've gone through it on the show before, but the strips I pulled out of the bin at my first workshop in Kensington, I used all of Like Butter's offcuts.
Yeah.
So those original pieces cost me nothing, and now like $360 a sheet for birch ply. I cannot justify that.
But that's the kind of, you use your offcuts to make a piece. And I've got a job, kind of now a semi-recurring job, where I've been making these, actually I think it's a South African board game. Robin, you might know what it is. It's like a miniature pool or air hockey, but you slide little tokens into holes in four corners of a relatively large, it's like 700 square game board. And it's I'm doing them out of supply. But originally I started making this lady these game boards out of offcuts. It's just like, you just pay me some labor and I'll just make you up as many as I have with the offcuts I have. And it's a good way to get rid of offcuts. But of course, they dried up pretty quick because I made a few of them. And then, so we're like, okay, now we're going to have to buy in material for these. Yeah. But that kind of table is almost what you want to keep as a it's like you can make it when it's offcuts, and there's an exclusive run of one or two because you've got enough offcuts for it, and then that's almost when the prices, you can have ELD prices for it. But
that's what I do with the little cheese boards.
Yeah, fingerboard.
I've never heard of that in my life.
Oh no.
I'm just looking at pictures of it now.
Yeah. So
my first thing was going to be to say is, are we talking about air hockey? But yeah, just on a very small scale.
I've made about 30 of those for this lady at the moment.
Interesting. Sorry, what were you going to say, Bryan?
I was just saying the same thing, like in terms of reusing offcuts. I make those little cheese boards out of them, and it's great. Like I'll make, I don't know, 15 to 20 at a time, just of black bot and spotted gum offcuts in 3 different sizes, and it's great until they sell out, and then I'll just sit empty, and then I'll get an inquiry for one, and I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna make a batch. And then I have to set aside the time to make another 10 or 15 of them. But it's good. It's all part of that cycle of wasting less. And
so have you guys got any other massive or obvious supply issues? With obviously birch is probably going to be a thing, but mainly cost prohibitive mainly at the moment. Is there any
still some hardware stuff, but I get the feeling that it's correcting itself somewhat.
I feel like it's just being corrected by price increases though.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah. But yeah, I've 1st of June my pricing increase is coming in, so my first proper price rise in about 5 years, something like that. I just couldn't justify it anymore. Like I was just losing money.
So I will admit, I think once I've looked at your website. But do you actually
once?
do you actually have a shop with things? Because like if I need to put my prices up, it just goes up and nobody knows because it's just like one of a kind jobs, you know. But you're
so I do actually. I list my prices on pretty much every item. There's some of the kind of built-in bespoke units I don't list, but all the other prices I do list them. And then in the shop, I just have things like cheese boards, hats, t-shirts, and then any stocked items, like say I've got like a display pinch bench or something like that, it'll just be up there sitting. But no, most of the stuff that sells through the shop is either just caps or cheese boards, which is fair enough. It sort of just manages itself.
What's been the general response from customers? So Joe, you were talking about earlier, when you work with birch ply, you are upfront with the cost. Are you finding more and more people are turning away from furniture or kitchens because of it?
There's definitely still more inquiry for cabinetry. I feel like people think there's a bit of value from cabinetry because it's typically such a bigger thing and it's very utilitarian. Obviously, it's a useful thing, and you can design very nice cabinetry. So it's not like it's boring. I typically won't go for boring square cabinets. And more in the last few months, I've been turning people away and just saying, go find someone who just does boxes because I don't really want to do that. But I'll take the job on if it's a little more interesting and we can put some, bit of artistic flair in it. But recently I did price like a birch ply sofa and ottoman unit, and which the client was going to have then upholstered. And it went through quite a few iterations, and then finally she said, look, I want to do it, but I'm not going to force the people that owe me money to pay me, so I can't afford the piece of furniture. So because she prefaced the email with it's hard times, people are struggling, and I don't want to have to force someone else to pay the bill so I can get my furniture, which I agree and disagree with. But I thought it was an odd stance to take. But
that is an odd stance, because surely she's come to you and has some knowledge of the fact that it's not going to be the price of an IKEA sofa.
I don't think the price was a problem. It was crazy expensive for what she wanted, but she wanted the birch ply and she wanted to have a whitewash on it and all this other stuff. But I think she just, in the middle of a build, suddenly becomes, do I actually want to spend that much money on that thing?
I'll definitely second what you're saying about I've got way more inquiries now for cabinetry and built-ins than I have done for freestanding furniture.
Yeah. I mean, in one regard, you can look at my YouTube output and say my last video was like the torsion box table that I made for myself out of Purple Heart, and my next video is going to be a torsion box table that I'm making for a client, and you get to see all the ways I fixed my fuck ups from the first time round
with the ring.
Yeah. But what was I going to say? And you can see,
work.
yeah, and you can see like it's been 6 or 7 months between videos, and that's because I've been doing cabinetry, and I've done enough cabinetry videos, so I'm not going to do more of them.
And that's why I asked the question, because outside of cabinetry, when we're talking custom furniture, I feel like this is one of those industries where the people that were buying your furniture in the first place are not the ones who are feeling that pinch as much yet. So I wonder if we're in an industry where we are potentially a little bit more immune to it. We can raise our prices.
Perhaps.
People just accept that.
Perhaps
So hard to know.
I find most of my clients are typically in the middle of some kind of renovation. And so there's a lot more money at stake, a much larger project that they're on, and I'm just one aspect of it. And so typically they'll have a budget earmarked for that part of the project. It's not that often. I'll have people come to me who have a random budget for a random piece of furniture. It happens, but not as often.
This idea of budgeting for things like renovations and I guess even furniture, I find it such a strange concept, because unless you are working in that industry, how can you budget for a kitchen? If I was to go and renovate my kitchen and want to budget for cabinetry, I've got no qualification to say it's going to cost XYZ. That's what I can throw at it because that's what I've got, but that's just an uneducated way of doing it.
Yeah. People,
how can I say I want to spend 10 grand on cabinets because that's a reasonable amount of money to spend?
well,
I don't
you
know
can
what a
say
reasonable
that.
amount
Like
of
you
money.
can come to me and say, I've budgeted 10 grand, and then if you come across a nice person like me, who might say, okay, well for 10 grand straight away, like your options are going to be this, and this, and forget about all of that other stuff. And then remove that. You might get that, and you might have that for 10 grand. Other people would just not even reply to your email, I suppose. But it's a good. I love it when someone actually gives a budget.
Me too. It's
Because
still my first question, especially now we're talking about price rises. First thing I'll ask them is, how much do you want to spend on it?
Oh, that's such a difficult
because
question.
cabinetry. But let's think about it this way: if someone comes to me and says, "Oh, I want this kitchen, and I want to have all the mod cons. It's going to have bloody electric drawers and everything you want," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll draw it up and we'll give you a price." And then I give them a price for $70,000 because it's like everything they ever imagined, and they're like, "Oh, we've only got 15,000." I'm like, "Okay, well, what did you think?"
Let's start cutting.
Yeah, let's start from square one again. And in the meantime, I've spent 3 weeks drawing this up and pricing all these crazy things.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to alienate a cabinet maker if you just have no clue. So I don't know how you get an idea of budget without just talking to people, really. And I think that's where word of mouth comes in, because people who know people who had a kitchen done, and they say, "Oh, I used this guy, and this kitchen cost me this much," and then the next neighbor has a similar thing, and it costs them twice as much, and then you could kind of compare apples for apples. And I think that's really the only way to do it.
I guess it's a bit more of an interesting one when it comes to custom furniture, because Brian, so I come to you and I say I want you to make me a nice table, and you say what's the budget. There I guess it's a bit easier because I can say, well, I wanted to spend $1,000 on this project. That's it. What can you do for 1,000? Where it's interesting with something like a kitchen is because a lot of the times, and Joey, correct me if I'm wrong because I don't build kitchens, but there is an almost defined amount that's what you're going to spend on a kitchen. You can go up from there, But you don't, as the client, I don't really have a big say in the bottom end of that. It's going to cost a minimum.
Yeah, and there's always a minimum, I suppose. But there's always a range of products, and there's a range of hardware, and it's just a matter of trying to convey to the client, and that's why sometimes I'll say, do you want the Rolls Royce of drawers, or do you just want an economy drawer that's nice? And then if someone says they want Rolls Royce, it starts telling you a picture of what they expect to pay as well. As soon as you start just saying the word Rolls Royce means best of the best, in which case you can price it accordingly. And that you're allowing for the best hardware and fittings that you can find, not just throwing money at it because it's called Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
But for tables, I think it's easier because anyone can go to any furniture website and look at what tables cost. And you might get a table for $1,000, and you might get a table for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in a shop, and then you get a pretty good idea of what you might expect to pay from a furniture maker, assuming that you're asking for a standard style table. As soon as you come to someone with a budget of $3,000 and you want it to be floating off the floor and all this fancy stuff, then you're not going to be spending that money, are you?
Clover-shaped legs and all other kinds of craziness.
I got a couple of inquiries emailed through asking for pricing on that this week.
Really?
Didn't get a reply after I sent them the pricing information.
No.
Can you tell us what the price is?
Yeah,
what you would charge?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Well, as well, you got to remember it's not me charging it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't design the piece.
You're just the labor.
Yeah, okay.
You're just the laborer.
I'm just the labor man. That's me. So the total piece is 28,000.
Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. If I'm honest,
good.
I thought it'd be
good.
higher. I mean, I obviously don't have that type of money to throw at a table, but
me neither.
I thought it would be higher.
Do you
But
think
when you the cost of the CNC on the legs, $4,000.
Yeah.
Or just under $4,000.
that's actually reasonable? So
Yeah. Yeah.
now, do you think if you were to make that out of something other than crazy gold-plated timber, it would change it? I mean, the cost of that timber must have been pretty crazy, or not really?
The timber was actually donated for that exhibition.
Okay, so that would be more than
so
that?
that was zero.
Yeah,
But
all right.
the actual material cost in that piece is probably... There's quite a bit of waste in the legs.
Yeah,
It's probably about $3,000, somewhere in there.
so $30,000, something like that. Total.
What's that, sorry?
If you were going to buy one new, if I commissioned you to make it,
Yeah.
you had to buy in materials, I'm going to be looking at
Well, no, it's
30,000.
28,000 with the new materials now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Right.
the difference of going from it's Hydrowood Tassie Oak down to Vic Ash or something like that,
It's not much.
you might save yourself $500 or something,
Yeah.
or maybe $800.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, still waiting for the replies to those emails.
So, Joey, when it comes time to actually move out of the shop,
Oh, God.
don't talk about it. That's
Yeah.
future problem. Have you got a plan on how that's going to go?
We have a budget of what we're
So
willing to spend to get the workshop shifted.
So you're not going to bother doing it yourself?
Yeah, I'll probably do
Just
most
too
of it.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously, I've got to get a couple of heavy-ish machines shifted, so I'll probably hire someone who does that machine moving. Hopefully has some kind of crane and or forklifty machine with them who can shift my big saw, and my drum sander is actually really heavy, so that needs to be done properly.
Is that a common service?
I don't know. I haven't actually Googled it.
Because I'm so sure that I've seen, and this is over in the States, but just seeing it on YouTube, I'm sure I've seen people doing that.
Yeah, I
where
think
they get a company to
Yeah.
who just do that heavy lifting.
there is. I don't see. They do for big machines, like actually heavy machines, but most of my stuff is on the high end of. Well, it's not commercial really. It's just like high hobbyist stuff.
Prosumer.
Yeah, but it's still heavy enough that you need someone with a pallet jack and knowledge of how to actually strap stuff up. Because what I don't want, especially with my table saw, is I don't want to have to reconfigure it completely. I'd like it to not be dropped. So like, if I can avoid having to reset the runners on the big sliding table, that would be really good. So at this stage, we're just probably going to hire a truck to whatever I can lift, and then get someone else to do the heavy stuff. And then I've given myself like a week to sort it out, and then we need to be cutting wood inside of a week. So
Sure, that's a heavy time frame.
yes, but just time is money.
So if any listeners in Auckland would like to hang out with Joey for a week,
Do make a meetup.
Yes.
yeah.
That's what's his name from Samurai Carpenter?
Yeah, I forget his actual name.
Wow.
Um,
Anyway, that's what he's been doing with that place that he's building, that cabin.
okay.
Yeah.
He's always got new people hanging out and
Building it for him.
being grunts. Yeah. Very clever.
Genius.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to the move. Up until just this week, I'd been trying to put it on the calendar of where it was going to be and try and get jobs either side of it, and then I just gave up because the time frame kept moving, and now it's really moved. So I'm just going to stop a job in the middle of whenever it is, and then we'll just shift and try and start from where we left off.
Yeah, because I guess you're going to have to get the shed complete. Only after the shed is complete do you really need to be thinking about that,
Yeah.
provided the shed's in time. Yeah.
I mean, the shed's going to go up.
You've done a workshop move before this, haven't you?
Yes, but now I actually know what I'm doing. And like when I first moved into the workshop I'm in, I had like one truckload of stuff. And I could pretty much lift it all. And my machinery, I bought new machines for that workshop that have never been anywhere else. So
yeah, stuff like your table saw, you can't.
not this one. It's just, you can't move it. So it's going to be a pain in the butt. But once the shed's up, then I've got to fit out. I've got to build our spray room. Got to build a office smoker room. Got to build a couple of wing walls where we can lean stuff, put machines against. And I have that planned out. It's just a matter of, at this stage I can't even buy framing timber to do that with, so I'm not sure what we're going to use. So
You're not going to be using jibboard, that's for sure.
we're not using jibboard. I've already decided I'll probably line all the walls with MDF and just spray it, because there's nothing else.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I've been toying with the idea of potentially staying down in Tassie, because for those who don't know, the goal was eventually I was only here for 18 to 24 months, and part of me wants to go back to Townsville because all of the tools and everything it's up there in storage, and it's going to be a relatively easy move. But if I was to stay down here, the cost of moving a bandsaw, drum sander, edge sander, am I better off just flogging them in Townsville?
Yep.
And then buying you here? Because what is the cost going to be to move? Can you put tools like that into a container that Joe Blow house movers would move?
Absolutely, you could, but you'd have to get someone to crate it up. They'd have to be in probably crates like they came in, like a decent wooden crate with a pallet jack, something they could actually lift them on. And so someone has to build that and get it wrapped up and all that. I just see it as an opportunity to buy new tools.
Yep.
Yeah, I see, but all my tools are the ones that I've kept are all basically new.
I
mean, I've got admittedly, my $2,500 bandsaw, when I looked at it last, was like $3,000 because all the prices have gone up, so I might even be able to get my money back, which is frustrating. Well, it's great, but then when I come to buy it, it's going to be frustrating.
Yeah, well, that is the problem. If you have to pay more for the tools than you do now, then that's not great.
Now, you reckon you have to palletize it? You can't just
the heavy stuff.
I'm just thinking back to when I moved from Adelaide up to Townsville, and I had a removalist. They took things like the fridge and they just pushed it into a corner and strapped it up. Can't they just do the same thing with
They might be with your bandsaw wouldn't be.
Wouldn't be
huge.
crazy.
It's like a 12-inch bandsaw or something, or 14-inch bandsaw.
It's 14. It's about 2 meters tall.
Yeah, something like that. I reckon you probably could get away without palleting it.
It'd have to be dead clean.
Yeah.
And all the loose parts would have to be in another box or something, like
Yeah.
the fence and all the bits and pieces that come with it.
Yeah.
But I think the only people who would do that would be like a furniture moving company who you would hire special for that trip.
Yeah.
The problem with other like freighting companies is that one truck's not going to do the whole trip. They're going to move it halfway there and it's going to get shifted onto the next
Go
truck.
on to the
And
next one.
Oh, yeah.
they just want to put it on
no.
pallets and just bang, bang, bang.
No, if I used to do it, I'd go through a company like Kent where they put it into a container.
Well, in that case, it'd be fine. But
Yeah.
you might not get your money's worth if you have to pay for a whole container. But
The last time I checked, I think it was $7,000 to move a container from Townsville down to Tassie, which is close. It'll be real close.
if you did that, you wouldn't fit all your household stuff into.
Oh, we've got a storage unit which is 2 by 4.5 meter, so 9 meter squared storage unit, about 3 meters tall, packed to the rafters, and so we should be able to get all of that into a container.
Yeah.
Technically, yeah.
When we were talking about what we were going to discuss on the show tonight, and we just kind of
Yeah.
totally freeballed it. I was thinking it might be fun because you guys have interviewed me on here. I'm going to throw you guys some questions.
Sure.
Yeah, you guys interviewed me way before I was a host, so anybody that's listening to the show now, go back, I don't know, 3 seasons or something, you'll find an interview with me. But
Many years ago.
okay, so just short questions, but just a bit of background about you guys. So, Joey, start with you. Where were you born? How old are you?
I was born in Christchurch in
You were
New
in
Zealand.
Christchurch, were you?
Yeah. And I am 38.
Oh,
All right, Robin.
Yeah, this is a funny. The age is a funny question because I think the last time this came up, we hadn't actually met each other in person. Joey, we've met once over a short period of time, but we were all quite surprised at the ages of each other. So I'm also 38, and I was born in Durban, in South Africa. And where were you born, Brian? I'm gonna guess Ireland, but that feels like a very easy one.
You got
Belfast.
a Kiwi passport. Oh, what? You are Belfast.
Yeah, born in Belfast, but got a Kiwi passport, got a Irish passport, and a British passport, thanks to the Good Friday Agreement. And now I've got a nice shiny new Australian passport in the post.
Whoa.
Yeah.
In the
Globetrotter.
post. Oh,
Well,
you
yeah,
only
because
just-
I only just got my citizenship, so
Oh, right. Did you do the
Yeah.
whole ceremony?
it was during lockdown, so it was
So no.
online. So no. But
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. I literally got citizenship just to vote that prick out, so job done. It's literally, I've sat here, like I've been in Australia now for 18 years. And after the bushfires, it was the first time where I ever went, I have to vote in the next election.
Mm.
So yeah, there we go.
Sweet.
All right. What hobbies outside of woodworking do you guys have, apart from rearing children, which decimates any hobby time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man.
You were in a band, Robin.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I had hobbies
Yeah, I
before
had
kids came
hobbies.
along.
Well,
I
all
have
right. That's
so
okay.
many hobbies.
What hobbies did you used to have? What was your band? What was your band called?
Oh, yeah. No, so I was music was it. Music was
Yeah.
everything. So I had my first gig at 16 years old, playing at some dodgy pub on the wrong side of town. Dad giving me the talk before we went out. Listen, Bobby, because that's what he's called me. Listen, Bobby, I don't mind if you drink, I don't mind if you smoke, but please just don't do drugs, because that's all he can think is his son's going to turn out in the gutter. So I've been playing in bands since I was 16. I played in a punk band called Mr. Smug.
Nice.
We toured South Africa. We were on our way, and then that all sort of fell apart. And then in my
Please tell me we can find this music online.
You actually can. I found a video of us playing at a baseball park back when I had hair.
Amazing.
And it's jumping around stage. It was those are the fun days.
What did you play?
Bass guitar.
Nice.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a drummer, but I couldn't afford the kit, so I ended up
that's the problem.
to form the band, because I know, Joey, you're a drummer.
Yeah.
And then in my mid-20s, I went over to London and picked up a rap career. I was a rapper for...
Whoa.
You were a rapper?
Yeah. So I did that in London.
That's crazy.
And then in Adelaide as well, I got a band together. We started doing shows as a rap group, but as a band. We did all these really cool shows when the Royals were here in Australia.
Yeah.
I actually performed. I'm going to use the term for the Royals, which is very loose, but it was at one of the gigs, one of the festivals. We did a show there. And then that sort of fell away when woodworking picked up.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about you, Joe?
Hobbies. I had lots of hobbies. Started out skateboarding, which got me into woodworking because I made skateboards from 13, and then got into punk bands, a few punk bands. Ended up in a big band called Garage Fodder. Got 2 albums. I recorded on the second album, and
cool.
Also available online.
Yeah. YouTube, definitely. I'm not sure about Spotify and stuff.
Happy days. I know what I'm doing the rest of my evening.
Yeah.
I think there's only 3 videos on YouTube, and I'm in one of them. And let's see. And then I got into martial arts, got into Taekwondo for some reason. I forget exactly how that happened. Did that for 10 years. And then, kids and woodwork stopped everything.
So one of the first videos I saw of Joey's, you had, I'm pretty sure it was Less Than Jake in the background, and for those who don't know, that's a punk band from the States. And I heard it and I was like, oh, this is my guy. He's building stuff.
One of my videos. Yeah.
He's listening to the right music in the background. He's my guy.
Yeah, I used to get that a lot.
That's right. I remember your videos. You used to have crazy punk music in the background.
Some of them, but typically I would be listening to music when I work, and it would just come on. And then, of course, that was before YouTube seemed to care about that stuff. And although I haven't got any strikes for those old videos, but whatever. Yeah. But a lot of people would comment on like the music I'm listening to, and I always found that interesting. But I quickly realized that that kind of music puts 75% of people off. So, tamed it down.
I think you win in some areas.
Yeah.
And I think you probably have a more loyal. Yeah. That 25% is super loyal.
Yeah.
Because they connect with you, but it's only 25%.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's keep going. If you didn't do woodworking, what would you do?
Oh.
That's a really tough question.
Career, not hobby. What would you do?
Oh, career.
Probably filmmaking. Maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe I just said that as a reflex. I'm not sure.
No, that sort of makes sense. Yeah.
Because are you implying that we get to choose our career? So what's your dream career outside of woodworking?
Or what would you have ended up?
how are you paying the bills outside of woodworking? Because those are two very...
kind of a mix of both. What would you be best suited to? So I would say, Joey, like a TV or videos is kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I would never put all my eggs in one basket, because I've changed all the time. Like, I'm always changing, and even what I'm doing now is different from how it started. And so I would say that I would start doing something, and it would morph into something completely different.
Yeah, and I think the older you get, you get a better view on that. When I was growing up, all I ever wanted, and I can remember this from high school days, all I ever wanted was a cubicle and a computer, and that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to go into the office, just be a developer, and just work, and then clock out, and that was my. And it was only when you get into that, because I still work in an IT company full time, so that's what I'm doing. It was only after getting into that you're like, wow, there's so much more going on. I want to go be a firefighter. I want to be the guys on the mountains and the ski slopes who are stopping avalanches and blowing up stuff every day. There's so many other more interesting jobs out there without just paying the bills.
Good answers. All right. Least favorite part of woodworking? And Joey, we know yours is clients, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
we can skip Joey's.
Chasing money.
Chasing money. What about a physical part of the job? Like, are you an anti-sander or?
I'm not an anti-sander, but I must say I spent the day on a hand plane working on my oval table, and I got sore arms. So maybe that's a small complaint.
I think echoing that, I would say with hand planes, but with a lot of things, is just setting up machines and being able to believe in the machine. So
That's a great shout.
I had a very much love-hate relationship with my jointer, which
yeah.
I've sold, and I hope to never see it again. And the problem was, the whole experience was always soured. Every time I would get onto the machine, I'd cut a board or I'd flatten a board, and I'd go, now is this my technique? Is it the machine? Do I spend another 2 days trying to fix it? Yeah, that was one of the best things about the men's shed, and what I asked them, who does the machines? Who takes care of the machines? Because I don't want to be that person.
All right. Best investment for your workshop? What's the thing that you've bought? And it doesn't have to be the most expensive thing. What's the best thing that you've bought?
Let's see.
Straight off the bat, in terms of tools, I'd say router. My router gets used on pretty much every project at some point.
I think that's how I would rank it as most used.
Yeah.
And it's a toss-up between my panel saw and my new sander, orbital sander I've got.
What did you get?
That's an interesting one.
I got a Rupees sander,
Yeah.
and it is awesome. It's a auto body brand kind of that panel beaters and such would use, but works perfectly well for wood.
Just takes 150 discs.
150, I can change the head and have 150 or 125.
Yeah.
And it's great little sander, variable speed, and does everything I want it to do. It's got a 3mm orbit, or maybe it's a 5mm orbit one. I can't remember it actually, but it does a super job. But probably the panel saw is used more than that, and like that really had opened up all sorts of opportunities for types of work we can do.
We're doing like, that's why I see your panel saw, and the only time I'm jealous of it, because I've always been like a table saw guy rather than a panel saw, but just doing like a glue line rip instead of having to joint the 3 meter long board. Oh my god!
I just made a desk just over 3 meters, so just these boards just fitted on my table saw. It was like, I don't know, 20 minutes before I was going to go home, and I was like, I'm just going to get these boards, throw them through the thickness and glue it up, and I did it. Just whacked it on the table, straight, bang. Couple of dominoes, glue it, get out of there.
Whereas for me, I'd be going, I've only got 2 hours left before I go home. Maybe we should do something else.
You've got to factor in the amount of time that you're going to be stuffing around and throwing tools across the workshop in a rage. Yep.
So it was a pretty efficient tool.
All right.
Just going back to the sander.
Yes.
What makes it so much better than a Makita?
Well, that's a good question, because I've always had Makitas. And I never used to think there was any problem with Makitas. They sand wood just fine. But then you put one in each hand, have the $2,000 one versus a $200 one, and it's like sanding with a dream. With like, it doesn't vibrate. You could do it for an hour, and you'll be fine. And it's like quarter of the noise coming off it. Whereas you use the Makita, and it's just screaming at full RPM and just screaming at you and vibrating, and you don't even know it is until you use something that's actually made to be held or worked with all day.
Yeah.
And the finish itself,
that's perfect. I mean,
is it different? Is there a tangible, noticeable difference?
So what I learned with the high-end sanders is they typically come in 2 orbits. You get a 5mm orbit and a 3mm orbit. And the 3mm orbit is for doing really fine finishing work, or typically for stuff that's going to be sprayed, like car guys. and the 5mm is typically used for heavy removal of stock, and it's fine for flat panel work, like sanding a desktop or something. And then if you use a smaller grit, then the 5mm orbit isn't really noticeable. And the 3mm really leaves a perfect finish where you really can't see in the orbit the little swirls you can sometimes see with the orbital sanders.
Pigtails, I think they call them.
Yeah. So just a really nice machine. I just about bought another one the other week, but I ended up buying a horizontal belt sander like I think you've got, Robin.
That would have been a very close one as well for me. I think yeah, if you're a sanding person, there's a lot of tools that you can pretty much use on any project. I've even used that sander of mine to admittedly not make the best glue joint, but you can, if you've got a short enough piece, you can get a glue joint with that.
Biggest waste of money in the workshop? Again, it doesn't have to be the biggest outlay, but the purchase that you've gone, wish I had that back in the bank.
I have such a controversial one, but I can't do it because I'm going to burn bridges, and I'm just going to leave it there.
Oh, you can't not say that.
I've got a good one then. But the problem is I didn't actually pay for this, but I wish I just didn't deal with the whole bollocks of it as the X-Carve.
Really?
What happened to that?
Well, they gave me one. At that time, in that year, whenever it was, every YouTuber was getting X-Carves. And they offered me one under some contract that all I had to do was produce 1 or 2 videos exclusively telling people about X-Carve. So I did that. The problem is it's a bit of a toy. And now everything, a lot of the, I don't want to say equivocally that this is so, but a lot of the tools that used to be available are now kind of behind paywalls, or the tools that you really need to use is behind a paywall. And I've been like grandfathered in on like a free contract. So it seems like more and more that the tools that you need to do reasonable drawings and to actually cut what you want to cut are not available, and it's just not worth the space. And I don't know that I'll actually bother setting that one up in the new workshop.
Just offload.
I may just get rid of it, and I'm learning now the big CNC that's in the workshop. It's not actually mine, it's my father-in-law's, but now I'm starting to actually learn the software to use that one.
It's funny that the name X-Carve sort of triggered a long forgotten memory. I haven't heard that name in years. Yeah. They just sort of dropped off.
Well, they just released a big boy version of it. It's a lot beefier and it's meant to be way better, but it looks not much different. So they've done a lot on their software to make it a lot more user friendly and do what you want. But like I say, it's all these monthly sign up payment deals to get access to it, a lot of it.
I think if I was to choose something that was a waste of time, it's
apart from the one that's going to get you in trouble.
It's those corner clamps.
Corner clamps.
Right. I remember when I bought them, I thought this is just going to be a game changer. And yeah, band clamps on the other hand, best thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's like what the corner clamp wanted to be, but those corner clamps, don't give it a go, but don't get your hopes up.
I've got corner clamps, and I do tend to agree with you. I think they tend to be far more hassle than they're worth.
The problem is, and you might be able to fix this if you use something like sash clamps as well, you never feel like you're getting that corner.
No.
You're not tightening that corner. You may be setting it at the right angle, but you're never actually squeezing it together. So what's the point?
Yep, totally.
My take is that they're there to hold it so it doesn't fall apart while you're about to put screws and stuff in.
Yeah, maybe that's a better way to use it. Before you wrap the band clamp around.
Do you know what I do? I just stick a loose domino in the middle of the, like say it's a miter for a drawer box or something like that, just a loose domino on the miter, and then you get your band clamps around it. It works so much better than corner clamps.
Righto. we've done an hour. That was a good idea, Brian.
Yeah,
Throwing in some of those questions.
I know everybody is going to head straight over to YouTube and Google punk YouTubers.
Garage fodder. I've got it lined up ready
Garage
to go.
fodder. Here we go.
So excited about this.
You know what's annoying? I've got like half a box of CDs of it, but it's not on any digital device. Sometimes I feel like listening to it, and I can't just. In the old days, you used to have to go and put it on your computer, and then you'd rip it onto some digital stick thing that you could listen to and plug into your car's stereo or whatever. But it's not that easy.
I'm sure we can crowdfund getting you a Discman or something. So yeah, everybody enjoy the music tonight.
Right.
Oh, I wish we could play out with one of the songs.
Well, you can do it in post, Robin.
Yeah, all right, maybe I'll do that. I also do just want to make a quick mention last week or last episode, just a couple of things. The first one, the audio wasn't great. Essentially, I've had a bit of technical trouble this season, and I've basically figured it out. But yeah, so that episode wasn't great. I just want to reassure everyone it will get better from here. We were freshly back into the show, so that was the first and hopefully the only one that you're going to notice.
Fingers crossed. I tried something different tonight, so hopefully it's better than it was.
Oh, did you? Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. So yeah, just hang in there, everyone. It will get better. The second thing I want to mention, the number of people that I had contact me to say, so happy you guys are back. I've been waiting for this. I've got my morning commute, something to listen to. The number of people that contacted me, it was so incredibly heartwarming. I don't know if you guys find the same, but we go on these long breaks in between seasons, and I don't really hear too much from people. But then as soon as we come back, everyone jumps back on board, and the support is it's amazing. It's amazing.
Awesome.
It's been nice.
Righto. Cool.
Good to be back.
Okay, everyone. Well, I hope you enjoyed Caesar episode 2, and we'll see you all again next time.
All right. See you.
See you guys.